What is up, my homies? Today is Saturday, so it's another day for M. What's my channel called? Oh yeah, it's a Bob Mess. I'm drinking myself some of this stuff. This is called Birch beer. It's non-alcoholic. I do not do alcohol, but it is beer made with the birch tree, birch bark, pure birch oils. So it's like birch essential oils or something. I'm not a big fan of essential oils. They smell nice, but I'm not a big fan of them. I don't think they do any good. Although I do think I haven't tried it yet, but eventually I'm gonna try doing CBD. I think CBD is legal here in Wisconsin, though weed is not. I think I'll get a lot of benefit out of doing CBD. Um, I don't know exactly how it'll affect me, but I think they sell CBD down at the gas station. I think I'm gonna pick some up actually, some CBD. CBD, well, cannabidinol. That's what it's called. That's what it translates to, or that's what the CBD stands for. Cannabidinol. It's different from THC. I don't even know what THC stands for, but cannabidinol is called a cannabinoid, and it is part of the cannabis plant. I think the thing about legal CBD is that to create CBD, you need to grow weed. Like, you can't get CBD anywhere else than from growing weed. But why is growing weed illegal, but CBD is not? Because it's a byproduct of weed. How do the lawmakers expect CBD to be sourced? Like, it's totally hypocritical because it's saying, I implicitly support the production of marijuana plants, but I do not allow them to be grown in this state. So all the CBD has to come from out of state. I think that's just weird. I think it's just weird. It's just like typical lawmaker stuff. Birch beer, beautiful. So there was a birch tree at my old church back in California. There was this paper birch tree. It had bark like paper. You could scrape the bark off the tree and it would come out and it would have this consistency of paper. And this root beer or birch beer tastes like that tree smelled. Beautiful. Whew. Yeah. So, um, today's topic, um, besides the whole CBD thing. So, I also have, what are these? Tropical Skittles. I'll tell you a story, actually. I learned this from Malcolm Gladwell's, what it was called. I think it wasn't Outliers. It was The Tipping Point? I don't know. In one of Malcolm Gladwell's books, he described the reason why we see so many different flavors of everything. It's because people have different tastes. If you sit five people down in a room and give them the same product, their opinion of that product will be different depending on their tastes. Now, this may seem obvious, but up until the 1980s, all this variety we have, like tropical Skittles or chunky tomato sauce or all these different coffees, they didn't exist. It was just you got tomato sauce, you got one kind of candy, you got one kind of coffee. And the thing is that doesn't work because everyone likes different things. And that's the reason why there are so many choices. I learned from a MatPat video, from a food theory video. You should watch Food Theory. I think Food Theory is the best out of the three theory channels. They got Game Theory, Film Theory, Food Theory. I like Food Theory best because Food Theory is more original. It feels like Food Theory is more genuine than Game Theory or Film Theory because Game and Film Theory both deal with stuff that doesn't really matter. Like, sure, it's interesting to know the history of Five Nights at Freddy's, but it's not going to help you in your life. Like, it's not actually going to help you. You're not going to learn anything from it that will actually help you in your daily life. But with food theory, you learn really interesting things about the food we eat. Everyone eats food, obviously. And so food theory I think is just better because it's more applicable. You know, like they did one segment where they tasted different brands of Diet Coke. or Diet Cola. Pepsi, Diet Pepsi, Diet Pepsi, Diet Coke, Coke Zero, and various market brands. And funnily enough, the generic store brand won over all of the other 16 contestants. And I was like, as a copious drinker of Diet Cola, I find that useful to myself because that means I should expand my Diet Cola horizons. I should taste more Diet Cola. That helps me out, you know? I drink a lot of Diet Cola, quite a bit. And yeah, food theory episodes. I just think they're more interesting because they're more universally applicable. So that's it. That's all I have to say. All right, so beautiful. I really love coffee too. The amount of caffeine I get in a day is absolutely staggering. Okay, like I drink energy drinks and coffee and Diet Cola, all of which has caffeine in it, and I get caffeinated. I'm always hyper caffeinated. But the thing is that stimulants have different effects on people with ADHD. I have ADHD. ADHD is a low. The reason why I'm always so is because the dopamine levels in my brain that signal satisfaction are too low. Like they're way too low. And but the problem is that I have ADHD and schizophrenia. And the problem is that both of those diseases are dopamine imbalance issues or chemical imbalance issues. And so if I were to be put on Adderall, it would trigger my psychosis. It would trigger my mania. So I can't take Adderall. I can't take Ritalin because it'll ruin my it'll cause symptoms of schizophrenia. I have schizophrenia, I have ADHD, I have autism. A big basket full of cases, you know. I'm a basket case, a real basket case, like an intelligent basket case, but a basket case nonetheless. Although recently I have not been much of a basket case. Like, okay, so when I was at my weekly Magic the Gathering game this week, apparently I was being too jumpy at the table, like ADHD style, and the guy across from me, this older dude, asked, "Hey, do you have ADHD or something?" And I'm like, "Yes, I do. I apologize if my mannerisms make you uncomfortable." And he was like, "All right." So that's the best way to deal with people who get uncomfortable. You just say, "Yes, I do." He meant it as a joke, like, "Do you do you have ADHD or something?" I'm like, "As a matter of fact, yes, I do. I apologize if what I'm doing makes you uncomfortable." And that's the best way to seal it, you know. The best way to seal the deal is just be nice, be direct. The best way to diffuse a situation, although I'm autistic, so I'm not very good at this, but I figured that the best way to diffuse someone else's emotional response to what you're doing is to just admit it, own it, and say, "I'm sorry. If I make you uncomfortable, I apologize. I can't help it." Like, I remember, like, I remember in college, I was in a class, and apparently I was on my laptop, and when I'm in school, I can't really pay attention fully, so I have to be doing something like reading, or I have my laptop open. And I'm reading manga on my laptop in class. This was a 5-hour class. Yeah, really, it was a class we took once a week that lasted 5 hours, and the teacher got really mad at me for reading manga on my computer and called me up to talk with him after class. And the thing is that he said this: "I bet you think you're smarter than me." And I told him, "No, I do not think I'm smarter than you. You are a college professor. I am a college student. While I may be, it doesn't. It's like people project their insecurities onto other people, and they expect other people to operate based on how their growing up environment, how basically they expect other people's minds to operate the same way that theirs do, or the same way that the minds of those who were close to them while they were growing up. So if someone had a devious parent or a devious sibling, or someone who is always calculating the best way to like hurt people, then they'll assume that everyone else thinks the same way. But the problem is, people don't think the way you think they think. Like they don't. Everyone thinks their mental processes are different. Everyone has a different socialized defense mechanism. Like defense mechanisms are ingrained personality traits that are created in order to protect yourself from the inputs of society. And so I think, yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say on the matter. I'm going to switch topics now. On to freedom and government. Okay, so here's something. I was watching The Walking Dead, and Negan. I haven't watched The Walking Dead in a while, but let's say this: in The Walking Dead, you have these rulers, these people in positions of power, who are vicious, cruel, and ruthless, and you think to yourself, that is a function or a factor of the post-apocalyptic world. But the thing is that feudalism is essentially that. So if you don't know what feudalism is, feudalism was the system of government in Europe between the year 300 AD and 1400 AD. Feudalism consisted of a lord who presided over a plot of land and had an army of soldiers to defend that land. And the thing is that most of these lords and kings were ruthless, Machiavellian monsters. Like they were monsters. And they exploited their peasant workforce. They were mean. They were difficult, and so living in medieval Europe was kind of like living in a zombie apocalypse in some ways. And I think this reflects on how the government or the government of freedom of government. So here in America, we're free. We have human rights. We have the Bill of Rights. We have all of these things, like the people control the government. And the thing is that this was not a guarantee. In fact, for like 50% of the world population, up until the 1970s, or 1980s, or even 1990s, this wasn't the case. We Americans are so used to our freedom and human rights that we forget to realize that communism existed, and communism killed many, 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 many people, and it oppressed many, many, many more with gulags and disappearances and torture and stuff. Like, it's just the capability of the human race to be evil is very great. The thing is that there's one constant in human life, and that is that the environment does not care for us. That is to say, the environment it is not interested in our well-being. And in order to get the environment to suit our needs, we have to work. That's it. And the thing is that every society is based on how you make people do things, like how you get people to work. In the past, it was slaves, or it was peasantry. And in the present, it's money. In communist nations, it was the glory of the motherland. And here's the thing: would you rather work for pay or for the glory of the United States? Which one would you like to work for? Would you like to work for pay, or would you like to work because you're patriotic and doing it for the glory of the United States? Exactly. You'd rather get paid. Most of us, if we're honest with ourselves, we'd rather get paid. If you're getting paid $50 an hour to do something, or you can be paid, like, The point of the matter is that government is hard. People have to work in order to sustain themselves, and communism doesn't work because people there's no system of motivation. Well, there's two reasons why communism doesn't work. Three. Let's put three reasons. Number one, it's hard to motivate people without money. Money is a very good motivator. If there's money is the best motivator. If you can think of a better way to motivate the majority of people to perform menial tasks day in and day out, tell the world so that they can implement this system. But money is the, unless you want to talk about slavery, but that's obviously not going to happen. So you got communism doesn't work because people are unable. People don't work as well when they're not being rewarded as much. People work for reward. That's the best way to get people to work. The communist governments force people to work it's mostly stick. The communist government is mostly stick. Well, the capitalist government is mostly capitalist system is mostly carrot. But there are some sticks. So you got number one, it's hard to motivate people to work without some sort of tangible reward. Number two, communism does not place enough emphasis on skills that involve high-level management. So communism doesn't place enough emphasis on high-level management skills. Because the thing is that people in high levels of management tend to be rich. And they tend to, so what happens under a communist system is that the state assigns people to do management jobs who are unqualified to do so. The thing about capitalism is that capitalism allows a diversification of managementarial positions. So, like a CEO, right? In communism, no CEO. But do you know what a CEO has in mind? His company. Sure, he gets paid $2 million a year, but he is the vision of the company. He is the one who pushes the company forward. That's why he gets paid the big bucks. Why do you think CEOs get paid the big bucks? Is it because they stole it? No, it's because they provide $2 million worth of service to their company. Because a company without a CEO doesn't work as well. If a company is governed by committee, it won't work as well because companies have to have a visionary leader at their front. Like, sure, they have like the board of directors and stuff, but just like a country has to have a figurehead, a company has to have a figurehead. Like, can you imagine what would happen if a country did not have a figurehead and instead was governed by committee alone? Exactly. So why would you expect a company to work differently? Companies need someone in charge at the head who is visionary. They're the people who propel the company forward. And middle-level management. So that's the thing. And under a communist regime, there are no CEOs. The people who control the companies don't have the company's best interests in mind. Because, that's just how it works. And number three, there is no freedom of innovation in communism. Under communism or fascism or socialism. There is no freedom of innovation, okay? Like, if, for example, in Russia, rock music was punishable by prison and gulag. If you got caught with a rock and roll record in Russia during the communist period, you were going to jail, you were going to the gulag. Rock music. And here in America, the same thing happened. The older generation didn't tolerate rock music. But because America has freedom of expression and freedom of speech, they couldn't do anything about it. And so we have rock music. Can you imagine the world without rock music? That would be a sad, sad world. And that's what happens when you limit people's intellectual and social freedoms. And that's it. Those are the three reasons. Reason number one, people like working for money and they don't like working because of someone's behind them with a whip. Number two, higher level management jobs actually provide a significant value to the company that they're managing. And number three, communism stifles innovation both socially and technologically. That's it. That's my video for today. Thank you very much. If you have any arguments in the below, post them in the comments and I'll read them over. Thank you very much. I'll talk to you guys later.